Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. Hope all of you are doing well. This is a video session on daily news and editorial analysis dated 29th of December. Through this video session, I'll be discussing the important news and editorial both from the Hindu and Indian Express. The analysis in this session will specifically help the aspirant who will be appearing for the upcoming civil services examination, state public service commission examination, and various examination conducted by state and union agencies. So through this video session, I'll give you the deep analysis of the news which is relevant from the examination perspective. Before I begin this session, I would specifically highlight the point about the upcoming prelims examination 2024, which is scheduled at 26th of May, right? Now, this is the time that you need to practice a good number of MCQs. For that, we have a dedicated program called Nishya. This is an all India test series program where we are providing 4900 plus questions. Along with that, the video discussions, demo test, and free magazine for content enrichment. This is a time that you need to practice a good number of MCQs, and what would be better than Nishchay All India program. For instant registration, you can use this QR code, and even you can reach to our website for further details about the schedule and fees. So do check it out. Now starting with the news highlights of the day. The first important news talks about the Pegasus spyware. This is there in the news, and specifically now it has been reported by the Amnesty International and Wall Street Journal that Indian journalist was actually being snooped by using the Pegasus spyware. So we'll see the detail to that. The second important news talks about the recent verdict by the Qatar court where the death penalty of the 8 ex-Navy officer has been converted or been reduced to the part when they have been given exemptions from the death penalty, and they will be continuing in the imprisonment as such. The third important news talks about the MSME sector. The government is looking forward to tap the new relief window for the MSME sector, which was especially impacted due to the COVID-19. The second last news talks about the Telecom Act, where the Minister of IT has categorically said that government has no power to break the encryption, right? And I'll be concluding the entire discussion with an editorial that talks about India's stationary course in shipping value chain, which talks about a comparison between India and China in terms of maritime forces and how India can improve on the part of overall maritime, improving the part of the manpower and even the overall capabilities. So we'll see the detail to that as well. Let's get started with the detailed analysis of the news one by one. So the first important news is about the Pegasus spyware, and it was being reported that Indian journalists were specifically targeted. Now, before I proceed, just to tell you, the Pegasus software is actually made by NSO. It's an Israeli group which is the owner of the Pegasus spyware, right? Now, why we are discussing this news? Because recently the news investigation by the Amnesty International, which is again an NGO, and the Washington Post has come up with the details that government of India has used highly invasive Pegasus software to target high-profile journalists in India. This is something, the part of the blame has directly shifted to government of India, and specifically they have highlighted that the snooping was actually done on Indian journalists, right? This create a lot of confusion as a democratic setup where the part of journalism is considered as the fourth pillar of democracy. This type of spyware is something which is not really appreciable on this part. So but still we do not have the clarity. Government ने इस पे अपनी कोई भी statement नहीं दी है. We'll see the detailed news, what is the Pegasus spyware and how the snooping is done. I have told you it is a part, it is the ownership of the Pegasus spyware is with NSO group, which is an Israeli based group, right? So these are the factual information relevant for several one-day examinations. Now, the report that was there, why we are discussing this news, because the Amnesty International has actually come up with an allegations and the government of India that they have actually made a snooping attempt, or even you can see the part of Pegasus which was done. So this was by Amnesty International. After the Apple, they have issued a security alerts and notifications to all the Apple user, all the iOS users in October itself, right? I think you must be aware of this. उसी चीज को ध्यान में रखते हुए एमनेस्टी इंटरनेशनल ने अपने सिक्योरिटी लैब में सारी जो जो इन्फेक्टेड डिवाइसेस थी जिनमें एक्चुअल मैसेजेस आई थी, द मैसेज वाज that the state authority is trying to make a attempt to have a snooping on your particular phone. These were the kind of message. I do not have the exact script of that message, but this is something that message was actually meant for. Now at the end of the examination by the Amnesty International, इन्होंने बताया है कि जो भी मोबाइल फ़ोन इन्होंने एक्चुअल में अपने लैब में टेस्ट की थी रिस्पेक्टिव डिवाइसेस, वो पाई गई कि उनमें एनएसओ के जो सॉफ्टवेयर थे दैट वाज देयर. नाउ दिस वाज स्पेसिफिकली done with some important journalists like Siddharth Vaitharajan, the people associated with Wire, the print. I'm not naming so much of them because that is not a necessary part. We need to only understand what is this all about. To a wholesome, it was more about with a journalist fraternity, right? तो जर्नलिस्ट के बात को लेकर के जो मीडिया पर्सनल्स हैं उनको टारगेट किया गया. Now, the security lab conducted the message to facilitate the zero-click exploit. I'll tell you what is a zero-click exploit is, and this was sent over the iPhone messaging app, right, which is an iMessage app. Now, once received, the message was designed to covertly install the Pegasus on the software. On the device, particular device. Suppose if it is iPhone, it will be there installed automatically without the consent of the user. Now this is how the actual spyware work in terms of IT sectors. Now before I proceed, I'll tell you what is zero click exploit and how does it work. This is pretty relevant for the prelims examination as well. आपसे पूछा जा सकता है कि जीरो क्लिक एक्सप्लॉइट किस चीज से रिलेटेड है. फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट इट इज रिलेटेड टू अ स्पाईवेयर, राइट? सो दिस इज अ स्पाईवेयर. Now, how does it work? The zero-click exploit is a cyber attack software that allows the spyware to be installed in the device without the owner consent. So if an individual, suppose you are using a smartphone or handset, you will not be giving a consent, but automatically due to clicking on some of the links, this particular software or whatever desired software is there will be automatically installed in your iPhone or particular smartphones. Now, more importantly, it does not require the device ownership to perform more action, and this will complete the installation process with a minimal clicking and other stuffs and other stages, right? Now, this specific exploit alleged in use in the device that is called the blast past. इस तरह के और भी कुछ there are other things that terminology is basically used. We're not getting deep down to that, but you need to just understand how does the zero click exploit work. Other than this, there are some other terms that is specifically relevant from the examination perspective and even in general must be known to you. These are some of the details like what is spear phishing, right? So this is a trick a user into clicking a link. This is called spear phishing. Then we have a zero click exploit, which I've told you that it does not require the actions from the user. Then we have wireless trans receiver from a receiver located nearby. And network injection, this is through an unsecured website. And manual, this is an agent manual hacks the target phone. This is how the entire part of the Pegasus software is being used through your smartphone, and they give even for the OS, that is the operating system of an individual phone's messaging app and browser. So these are the broad area or the ways through which this particular spyware can be installed in any specific targeted smartphones. Now moving ahead with the NSO response. The NSO is an Israeli company, right? And they have categorically said that they actually sell this Pegasus software to the government entities only. So the Washington Post has cited that the Israeli company, which is their which own the part of Pegasus software, has said they have exclusively licensed and they only sell it to vetted law enforcement agencies. Vetted here means that they are thoroughly verified, that they will be specifically using for preventing the part of anti-national activities or anti-terrorism activities, and specifically they sell it out to the intelligence agencies to combat terrorism and major crime. But no, if this is being used for media people or media individuals, specifically for the journalist, This is something, the country need to be taken, the part of the things need to be taken into consideration for a country like India, which definitely call for the mother of democracy, right? Now, NSO claim that they have no visibility into targets or collected the intelligence. So still, the government will have to reply on this part, that what is a truth, and the part of reality as of now from the Amnesty International and Washington Post categorically cite that spyware were actually intentionally installed in some of the reputed journalists in the country. Now, moving ahead, Qatar court has actually dropped the death penalty for 8 Indian. These were the ex-Navy officials, which were actually awarded with the death penalty in the Qatar court. Now, finally, the Ministry of External Affairs has uh, specifically said that they have dropped the plan. The Qatar court has dropped the plan for death sentence, and instead they have gone for a long imprisonment or year imprisonment. The still, we do not have the copy of the verdict which is there by the Honorable Court of Qatar, but the 8 men were actually awarded with a death penalty in October 2023. Right? I have already made a discussion to this news. I think most of you must be familiar with the background, but instead I'll be telling you a brief background to this context. So in August, what has happened that 8 officers were detained in Doha by the Qatar intelligence agencies, and these people who were actually detained were working for a Dhara Global Technology consultancy firm, right? And these were the member of Royal Omani Air Force. They were actually the retired members. The 8 men have been in custody by the Qataris authorities since August 2022, and the first trial started in March 2023, and the consular access was even granted to Indian ambassador to meet the detainees. This is how the thing has worked, and government of India has actually made an intervention to this to ensure and provide the consular access as per the Vienna Convention. Now, if you look at the background, this is for you to have a quick glimpse at what exactly has happened. So this started from August 30, and the death sentence was awarded in 26th of October 2023. You can pause this video, even you can take this screenshot and read out the complete chronology of the events that actually take place. This is a timeline mentioned over a diagram. Now, Vienna Convention on Consular Relations की अगर बात करें, this is again important for General Studies paper 2 specifically. Vienna Convention on Consular Relations provide करती है consular access को for a sovereign state. Article 36 जो है Vienna Convention की, this deals with the communication and contact with the national and sending the state. And Article 36 of the Vienna Convention required the immediate notification of an arrest or right to have a consular access of an individual of a specific nations, right? So this is how the Vienna Convention on Consular Relation actually works. Now, terms of verdict की अगर बात करें, neither the ministry nor are aware of the appeal and verdicts, and even the term were actually reduced from the death penalty. It was reduced to the imprisonment, but the number, the duration has not yet been known because the official, the papers, the document is not in the public domain yet. Now, the fact is that the struck down of the death sentence was the first positive developments with the families of 8 men that has been struggling with the part of conviction process that actually was there in October 2023. And they first filed the appeal against the verdict on November 9. So, in a nutshell, there is a bit relaxation on the part from the Qatar court, which has actually exempted the part of death penalty to all the ex-Navy officers who are origin of Indians. Right? Now, the other news, COVID-19 hit MSME can tap the new relief window. This is what the government of India has specifically come up with the relief package to the MSME, the micro, small and medium enterprises. Now, they can claim the part of relieving the part of the exemptions will be given to the MSME sectors. Now, fresh claim can be made under the Vivad Se Viswas Scheme 1. There's other scheme also, Vivad Se Viswas Scheme 2. So this was launched in 1st January 2024, where micro, small and medium enterprises, specifically अगर MSME sectors की बात करें, they have the opportunity to submit the claim under the scheme. So this is again an important scheme relevant for prelims examination as well. Now, initially from mid to April and end of the July, the scheme has already resolved 650 crore rupees and nearly 44 1,000 cases were actually been dissolved out, right? Has been solved out. Now the extension for this file firming has been remained open till 31st of March 2023. Now, the other scheme, just to give you the brief idea about the विवाद से विश्वास scheme, यूनियन फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री ने इसको अनवील किया था यूनियन बजट में टू फोकस ऑन एलिवेटिंग द चैलेंजेस फेस्ड बाय द एमएसएमई सेक्टर जो माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेज है और गवर्नमेंट की जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑब्लिगेशंस है ड्यूरिंग द पेंडेमिक इवन द एग्जेम्पशंस विल बी प्रोवाइडेड सो दैट द एमएसएमई sector is actually performing well. Now, the scheme was actually introduced on April 1st, encompassing the government procurement contract for goods, services, and work entered by the various governments and department, right? Now, what were the other details that is coming from the government's end? If you look at the Ministry of Finance, they said that the scheme applies to all domestic and contractual dispute where government is a party. Government to offer contractual settlement for up to 85% of the net amount awarded by the court, and this has been promised in the budget that was there with the particular scheme, that is Vivad Se Viswas scheme. And moving ahead with the other news, that is center has no power to break the inscription. This is a statement that was given by the Union Minister for Communication and IT. It said that the government has no power to break the inscription on whatsoever it is there because it was being argued कि जो टेलीकम्युनिकेशन बिल 2023 है जो कि रिसेंटली पास की गई है वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को एम्पावर करती है बहुत सारे इंपॉर्टेंट पावर्स के साथ कन्फर करते हुए where government has actually said that they do not have a power to break the inscription under the telecommunications bill. Now, Telecommunication Bill 2023, it was passed by the Union Cabinet, and this is something which certainly have a relaxation in the regulating the telecommunications such as WhatsApp and Google Meet. The bill proposes to have a large scope of telecommunication services by OTT over the over the top platforms, internet-based, satellite-based communication, broadcasting, internet, and even services under its ambit. The draft bill accord for the center power जहाँ पे वो खास करके उनको लाइसेंस के अंदर और एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी सर्कमस्टांसेस में फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस कंज्यूमर इंटरेस्ट को ध्यान में रखते हुए सारी एक्शंस के लिए पावर दी गई है. दे हैव बीन empowered to do so. It seeks to replace the three laws, that is the Indian Telegraph Act of 1985, Indian Wireless Telegraphy Act 1993, and the Wireless Act of 1950, right? So two acts were a colonial laws, and first and the other is the Telegraph Wire Unlawful Act 1950 was post to the independence. Now section 3 के अंदर बहुत सारी पावर दी गई हैं सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को. अंडर द सेक्शन 3 the Telecommunication Act, any person intended to provide the telecommunication service, establish, operate, maintain, expand telecommunication network or pose radio equipment shall obtain the authorization from the government. Without authorization, without approval, they cannot proceed further. And the ministry said that the rule of business in the government are very clear, that the telecom services related to cartage or any domain or any telecommunications app fall within the domain, the part of the domain and under the ambit of the Ministry of Electronics and IT. So a part of prior approval or consent would be mandatory required from the government entities under the sections 3 of the Telecommunications Act 2023. Now moving ahead with the editorial for the day that talks about the India's stationary course in shipping value chain. We'll see the detail. Some comparison has been made using Chinese as well, the China's part of the maritime overall development. So we'll see the detail to that. So first we'll see the background, then we'll proceed with India versus China's story, India maritime agenda and the way forward. Now, if you look at the Yangtze River, which is the Chinese heartbeat through the long history, I'll show you a map of this in a while so that you are able to understand and comprehend the news well. So today's Yangtze is a modern Chinese lifeline with retaining its antiquity. The three Georges which is there for the project is added to the illustrious, and the Yangtze often seems as a multiple convey stream lining in the parallel. Now it's time for you to know where this actual river is, right? So Yangtze ki agar baat kare, this is where this river is located. There's a South China Sea, this is Philippine Sea, and the closest part the China, this is something which is having a major dominance when it comes to the part of entering to the South China Sea. So this is again relevant. Now India versus China story की अगर बात करें, India has been actually ahead of China in terms of boat until the end of 1980s. तो उस समय इंडिया की डेवलपमेंट ओवरऑल सही रही थी एंड इंडिया हैज बीन अ रिच ट्रेडिशन ऑफ मॉडर्न शिपिंग गोइंग टुक टू द अर्ली बर्ड ऑफ चाइना इन द मैरीटाइम इंडस्ट्रीज। उसके अलावा यूनिक केस फॉर स्टैंड अगर देखिए मोस्ट स्पेक्टुलर एग्जाम्पल्स है इंडिया के पास इन द शिप ओनिंग ग्लोबली। एडिशनली इंडिया की जो मैरीटाइम है is close association with international maritime organization. We are following the norms and adherence to international maritime organizations and even the private shipyard. The challenges to public dominance should be promising with the global shipbuilding. Now, the labor arbitrages predating IT, the English speaking Indian seafarers were actually making more preference over the Eastern European and even enhancing shipping as a top priority as a professions and careers. Now, इंडिया की मैरीटाइम एजेंडा 2020 की बात करें ये फर्दर इंप्रूव हुई है विद द पार्ट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। इफ यू लुक एट द अर्लियर गवर्नमेंट दैट वाज द यूपीए गवर्नमेंट दैट हैज एक्चुअली कम अप विद द इंडियन ग्लोबल शिप बिल्डिंग और इसमें टारगेट की गई थी दैट फ्रॉम 2% विल बी मूविंग टू 5% इन ओवरऑल मैरीटाइम एजेंडा। Now, despite this incentive, India's share in the global shipbuilding were nearly zero and contrary to have intended increase. Now, उसके बाद जो गवर्नमेंट चेंज हुई है अभी जो recent government है, the NDA government which is there in power has come up with the maritime vision for 2030, right? And they have outlined the logistic, environmental concern, infrastructure, seafarers, training, and I'll also mention the part of building and owning infrastructure in terms of maritime overall development and roadmap. Now, this also talks about the Sagarmala project, which is a yield on the part of Naval Sea Order. And not only for India, we are also collaborating with other neighboring countries for the Sagarmala projects. Now, the way forward, India has extensive coastline. If you look at the coastline for India, this goes roughly around 7,500 kilometers, right? And the shipbuilding is crucial for boosting the manufacturing capacity of India. Engaging in the shipbuilding is not only secure place for global maritime industry, but also enhance the presence of international trade. If you look at the countries, specifically in Asia region, India prefer and the globally it is preferred to have a trade route with the part of sea. Strengthening the ship owning, character, the part of charactering, financing, building, India would propel to have a forefront in the global maritime industries and elevated international trade. India has been making a focus through the part of the Indian maritime policy by 2030 will be achieving most of its target, but it's time to make a proper implementation in the ground so that we are chasing the target that is actually envisioned under the vision of 2030 maritime policies. मूविंग अहेड विद आंसर्स एंड डिस्कशन। कल के जो सवाल है पहले के करेक्ट ऑप्शन में फर्स्ट ऑप्शन है ए, इसकी करेक्ट ऑप्शन है स्टेटमेंट ए। सो आप चेक करें आपने क्या मार्क किया। दूसरी भी ऑप्शन जो थर्ड ऑप्शन है वो भी करेक्ट है। द सेकेंड क्वेश्चन फॉर द डे, द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज सी, जो स्टेटमेंट 1 थी और स्टेटमेंट 2 दोनों यहाँ पे करेक्ट है। डू चेक आउट व्हाट यू हैव मार्क्ड एंड इवन यू कैन रीड आउट द कंप्लीट डिटेल्स ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स। Moving with the today's MCQ questions for the day. The first question is about the FEMA. It's facilitating payment trade with the countries in the payment pool. It gives Reserve Bank of India authority to establish FEMA. Its provision is limited to Indian citizens who are the residents. So do check out for the correct option. For participating in this, you have to simply write question number 1 followed by your correct option, and you can drop your answer in the comment section down below. The second question of the day is about the Eurasian otter. It's a carnivorous mammal that is in the semi-aquatic. The IUCN rate has been designated as endangered. Now the same options goes for participation. Question number 2 followed by the correct option, and you can drop your answers in the comment section down below. We'll be more than happy to see your answers, and even will be coming of more good quality questions for the upcoming prelims examination. Now this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, queries about test series, admissions and programs, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying connected.